And welcome to The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers. Mick Cornett, I promise you we'll be coming back. We've got to get an election out of the way before he can return, but he will in the next week or two. We're looking forward to having him back, I know. I certainly am. Today we're going to be talking about internet safety. The internet has a pervasive effect on all of us, and that does not omit our children. They are involved with it, probably know how to handle it better than we do, at least from the standpoint of operating it, but can they do things that can control their safety on the internet? Today we're going to be talking about what can be done to protect children from internet predators and the like, and we've got two great guests to talk about it. We're going to be talking about how one controls the internet, what the home can do, and what the schools can do. When I was growing up as a child here in Oklahoma City, one of the television stations always started its news with, "It's 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are?" We could change that to say, "It's 10 o'clock, what are they watching on the internet?" Well, we're going to talk about that with Wes Lane, District Attorney, and Charlie Britton, the Headmaster of Casady School, in just a few minutes. Let's go hear from our sponsors now. You're watching The Verdict. I'll be right back.
At Chesapeake Energy, here's a few of our favorite Hornets. Alexis likes reading. Sam enjoys history. Alec loves math. Chesapeake is proud to support both the Oklahoma City NBA Hornets and the Young Hornets at Horace Mann Elementary, where over 150 Chesapeake employees mentor to children each week. The students gain a lot from the experience, but not as much as we do. Chesapeake Energy, committed to building a better Oklahoma.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
The Cox Channel is still your #1 way to follow the high school tournament.
You're watching the Built for Tough Tournament Show.
The Built for Tough Tournament Connection gives you more scores, more analysis, more insight from coaches.
You're a senior. Are you going to play or not?
Nobody gave us a chance but us.
The Cox Channel is your only source for live local coverage. The Built for Tough Tournament Connection show, combined with our up-to-the-minute ticker and website, is a slam dunk. Tune into the Cox Channel this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights for all your updates.
You need this one to get satellite HD. This one's your DVR. This one's for local channels. This one's...
What are we supposed to do with all this stuff?
Got you covered. Oh, by the way, that old satellite stuff makes a great end table.
That doesn't look so bad, right, honey?
Don't live in satellite denial. Get the latest entertainment without the hassles. From Cox, your friend in the digital age.
And welcome back to The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers, and with me today I have two guests, both of whom have been on the show before, and we are very pleased to have them back. On my left is Wes Lane, Honorable Wes Lane, District Attorney of Oklahoma County. I know you're familiar with Wes. Wes has some significant individual credentials in dealing with internet safety and the children. He was a member, or is a member, of the State Advisory Group in Juvenile Justice. He's the chairman of the Oklahoma State Juvenile Crime Council Enforcement Coalition, and for many years he had firsthand experience in prosecuting cases in the District Attorney's Office out in the Juvenile Division in Oklahoma County. He has a great interest in children. Wes, welcome back for, I don't know how many appearances, but it's a lot, but it's not too many.
Several, that's exactly right. Well, glad to be here, always.
Glad to have you back. On my right is Charlie Britton, the Headmaster of Casady School. This is Charlie's second appearance on The Verdict. He has been involved in independent school education for 17 years. He's been headmaster at Casady for 4. He's a leader in the community, in this community and nationally, in innovative initiatives for education. And Charlie, we're really pleased to have you back.
Well, thank you very much.
Let me start out by just asking you, Charlie, describe the problem of internet safety and children from the standpoint of a school administrator, a headmaster?
Well, you know, the first thing I want to point out is that the internet is a wonderful tool in terms of information for educational purposes. But I think the issue that we come to the table today centers upon, for me, safety, trust issues, and quite frankly, wellness. Because what we're finding is that students, that kids as young as kindergarten age are getting out on the internet without much guidance. And as we know, I always say the internet is the Wild West out there. And if you look at blogging as well as text messaging now added with just going out and cruising out on the net, I think we have significant issues that we have to address. Because our responsibility is to keep our students safe, but it's also to educate them.
Now, you have, of course, computers at your school, I'm sure, that are available to the students.
We do.
Just how young would the students be at your school when they'd start having computer training and access?
We start in kindergarten. Obviously, they're heavily supervised. And I am not so concerned about what we're doing at school, but it's students away from school. Actually in their homes, also with text messaging. What we're finding is, for the most part, and not just Casady students, but all over, that students really kids are not supervised when they're out on the internet. They're not supervised in terms of text messaging. They are going out on blogs now and telling people their life story, people they don't even know. When you consider that 30 million people could be reading a 16-year-old's blog and finding out that person, what that person is doing during the course of a day, that's pretty scary stuff. So there's several initiatives that we're taking now at Casady to address the problem.
We're going to get to those in just a minute specifically. Wes, how do you see the problem from your office?
Well, it is kind of interesting. Just follow what Charlie said about the home issue and the supervision issues and the like. There's a real breakdown between parents and children and what each of them think the bases are covered. Over 90% of parents think they've got some sort of internet rules. Well, some 65% of children, only 65% think they do. So obviously we've got about 30% in there that the parents think they've got it covered, when in reality they do not. So our big concern, from a criminal justice perspective, is that when Charlie refers to it as the Wild West, that's really why. I mean, it's great, it's exciting, it's a new frontier, but the bottom line is that there are some there's some bad guys running around out on the internet, who we call predators, and they are cruising the internet in the hunt for preying upon these children, whether it's for sexual deviant reasons or and sometimes beyond that.
I know recently you two have joined together for a program.
Yes.
Can you describe that, Charlie? What was that?
Well, we felt the need to educate our students about internet safety, about text messaging and blogging issues, and we also felt the need recently to educate our parents. So about 3 weeks ago, we ran an internet safety session for our middle division students and upper division students, basically grades 5 through 12, during the course of a school day. And then on the very same day, that evening, we invited all of our parents, pre-kindergarten through 12, to a internet safety session that Wes and a couple of other folks facilitated. And we found that it was just a really terrific thing to do, but we also found that we're at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we're doing educationally about this issue, because it's just going to grow more problematic if we don't continue to address it.
Well, we have school issues, school education programs about don't do drugs.
Right.
We have smoking initiatives in the public schools to try to deal with that. This is just another rather new problem, I guess, you're having to deal with.
Yeah, and it's rather daunting. Schools more and more are having to take the role of, let's say, guardianship and really lead the way in education. We're very fortunate at Casady because we've got a tremendously supportive parent body. However, we still need to inform them. But I think schools are having to take on more and more. The last 25 years for schools has been an amazing transformation in terms of how we have to educate not only the students but parents.
I might just tell I am fascinated by that, because we this went to me, one of my staff members, and a fellow by the name of Mike Justice with the Oklahoma Family Policy Council went to a large high school, and I won't say which one it is, but thousands of kids, you know, and we probably had half the number of parents that were at your school at Casady. And I find that very interesting because different places that I've been, I think many times the parents just don't get it. They are disconnected. They don't realize the dangers that are out there and the issues are out there, and that's a scary thing.
Well, I think you know, one of the things is that we're finding that with parents, both parents working,
yeah,
you know, they're overwhelmed as well.
Yeah.
And with all the societal stuff that's been coming up, all the ills out there, it is daunting. So I think it's important that schools take more of a role. Don't get me wrong, but I think that with internet safety, it's just another thing that we have to be vigilant about. But the thing about it is that you know, what is cutting edge today in the world of the internet and text messaging and blogging is past news tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's hard to stay up with. For instance, if you look at blogging and you look at websites like Zanga.com and Facebook.com, this wasn't even in our vocabulary a year ago. And now all of a sudden we're confronted with this issue of trying to educate a 12-year-old not to put his or her life out on the internet in a blog form. Diaries were supposed to be kept under your pillow. Right. In today's world, a diary, kids think it ought to be read by 30 million people on the web. It's crazy.
Wes, in 30 seconds until we take a break, do you have other education efforts going on at other schools?
Well, really, well, I tell you what we're getting ready to do, because what we have observed is that there is just a parched desert of knowledge out there that needs to be watered, both from the children's perspective and how to protect themselves, how to recognize predatory attempts on themselves from somebody somewhere, but also to parents, because speaking as a baby boomer here, I'm telling you what, I am thoroughly intimidated by some of the technological amazement out there, and these kindergartners can run circles around their parents, and so how do they protect themselves? So yes, and we'll be going into that probably just as what efforts we are doing, because there is a plan.
Let me jump in and take us to a break. You're watching The Verdict with Charlie Britton, Headmaster at Casady School, and Wes Lane, District Attorney. We'll be right back.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And Blankenship has stopped at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play. Leading at 4th and 7 on the Tiger 46-yard line. 38 seconds on the clock. The Tigers have no choice but to go for it. Wiggins in to do the kicking. Here's the snap. And the kick is away.
RSM McGladrey. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. RSM McGladrey. In Oklahoma City, the phone number is 405-843-5311.
¿Eres tú?
There you go. Cox Communications está buscando empleados entusiásticos y motivados.
Disfruta de nuestros beneficios, pago competitivo, grandes ventajas y oportunidades para el adelanto.
Si desea hacer una diferencia,
tenemos un lugar para usted aquí con Cox Communications.
Visítanos en la internet o llame para ver qué oportunidades tenemos para usted aquí en Cox.
¿Eres tú?
Cox Communications está orgulloso de ofrecer igualdad de empleos.
Not sure where you're headed? NATS can help you find your way. It's the National Athletic Testing System. We call it NATS. You'll call it your launching pad to success. NATS will give you a standardized evaluation that will help you measure your performance and give that information to college coaches so they can accurately evaluate your potential. NATS also helps with academic support. Join with the Oklahoma High School Football Coaches Association and head for success at www.nats.us.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers talking about internet safety with, on my right, Charlie Britton, the headmaster of Casady School, and on my left, the Honorable Wes Lane, District Attorney of Oklahoma County. Wes, just as we were getting ready to take our break, we were talking about your office a little bit. Can you tell our viewers what your office is doing in regard to this internet safety issue?
You bet. A couple of years ago, I first became essentially turned on to what this big problem is and about the internet predators, and that there was a wonderful tool out there to address that. It's called the iSafe, for internet-safe, safety, the iSafe program, which is essentially a curriculum that is presented, available to schools to teach to the children in the school about, and at different levels, so that they can start recognizing how to protect themselves. I mean, there are different issues everywhere from watching out for predators, but also watching out on the internet identity. I mean, identity theft issues, how to be good citizens on the internet, how not to be stealing copyright materials. It's very popular to download music and all that sort of stuff. But one of the biggest deals is dealing with how to protect yourself from these predators. So we put together a meeting in which I invited different principals and school superintendents as well as law enforcement, because this is a program that's actually presented, we like it presented by law enforcement officers. I know that when you're going to talk about it in a second, what you actually had an Oklahoma City police lieutenant came out and presented the program to these children. And so that's being done all around this county in many different schools, and that's a great thing. But the second part about it is that parents are clueless about this, and they are intimidated by this. Just like we talked about the stats at the beginning of the program, many parents think, oh, I've got a plan. Well, the reality is that your kid's got a better plan. And they know how to get around you. And so we're going to be seeing over the next, probably within the next couple of months, a major effort being pushed by my office and my staff in association probably with a local university, in which we're going to provide some public training for parents to come and understand what is this blogging business. How do I check on my child? What are they getting into? How do I check my computer's history to know where my kid's been on this thing? And so that's a big missing link, and we're going to try to help fill it.
Charlie, I know you have some familiarity with the iSafe program. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit more about that?
Well, we really felt the need to educate our students about internet safety, and we didn't really know where to turn. What we found is that students truly know the bells and whistles of technology. For instance, if you need a second grader to fix your hard drive, that second grader probably can do it. What we found, though, is that within the context of technology, kids may know the bells and whistles, but they don't understand the consequences. And so we identified through our Director of Psychological Services, Marcia Moore, iSafe, and we engaged the program and brought the individuals out to campus who facilitated and led it. And what we found is that it was really highly productive in terms of raising awareness, particularly in our middle division. The earlier we start students in terms of education about these issues, the better off we're going to be.
Let's talk about the iSafe. Who has created the iSafe program? Do you know what organization?
Do you want to?
I believe it's a company. I believe they're out of California, but they have done just a fabulous job of providing all kinds of materials and information for these law enforcement officers just to come in and really lay out all this information. In fact, I think when we first heard of it, it was actually being presented at a law enforcement conference, and one of my folks turned me on. It actually is my mom. My mom gives me a call one Saturday, and she says, "You've got to know about this stuff." And I mean, "Really? What is it?" She says, "Come downtown and meet me." Of course, you know, how do you turn your mother down? So I show up and I meet with these folks, and I'm telling you, she was right. It was very impressive, and it was frightening what was happening out there. So,
and I think the students are surprised with iSafe when the person who walks out on stage is a police officer, because their contextual thinking about the internet is not about
law enforcement and crime and all that. What's this?
So when an officer walks out, I think it struck a very sort of effective tone with them.
Tell us a little bit more about actually, what I've seen was a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm sure it can be done a number of different ways.
Well,
how long is it?
Well, it lasted about 45 minutes with each division that we had. There's multimedia. There is a film component, a PowerPoint component, and then just a straight from the heart component from the police officer who gets up there and says, are you really thinking about the consequences of being out on the internet in terms of predators, in terms of your own safety, in terms of how you may be communicating to other people, and also your own actions. For instance, if you are text messaging and you're what we call cyberbullying, and you think it's funny as a 6th grader to do that, well then you know what, you need to really rethink your position. And so we really wanted to put it on the table with our students, and our students are really bright and perceptive and thoughtful. But I don't think that they had thought about the consequences of cyberspace until we brought this presentation to the school.
Well, in fact, Kent, one of the things that's very powerful is that they actually present the true stories of children who have been lured away from home. Because this is where this is happening. I mean, parents think your child is safe. It used to be, remember the old commercial says, "It's 10 o'clock, do you know where your children are?" Well, now they're at home, and you're thinking, hey, everything's really great. But the fact of the matter is that sometimes they may well be communicating with somebody who is a 40-year-old pervert who is posing as a 12-year-old buddy.
Right.
And his goal is to lure you away from that place. In fact, they're so sophisticated that what they'll do is they'll use pornography in order to what we call groom that child into thinking, oh, well, here's a picture of a child engaged in a sexual act with an adult, so I guess this is okay. And then they will go so far as they will teach a child over a period of time to ultimately we've had them send bus tickets, send them instructions on how to remove the hard drive from their computer and bring it with them so that we can't trace where they are. Many people don't realize that, it wasn't too long ago down in a sting was set up, and about, I think, almost a dozen people showed up in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. Fort Gibson, and one person from as far away as Great Britain, thinking he was going to be having sex with like a 12-year-old, and of course, it was an undercover police officer. So the federal government is doing a lot of the FBI, doing a lot of sting operations in which they're just simply posing as 12-year-old, kids getting up on these websites, and I tell you, parents would be shocked at the amount of information that your child is putting out there. They're putting out their picture. They're telling about all their different activities. I go to this every afternoon after school. I go here. I go there. It's a huge problem.
Charlie, we just have about 30 seconds left. What role do your teachers play in this after the iSafe and after the kids are going? If something happens at home and the kids want to talk to somebody, do you encourage them?
Yes, we do. And we try never to pass up a teachable moment at Casady. So if you're in an English classroom and you're talking about some great book, but the topic will turn to an area that really, quite frankly, interests everyone, and you need to make your point as a teacher, we encourage our teachers to do so. So I think with the internet safety initiatives that we've had, I think it's raised awareness across the faculty and staff and with our students.
Thank you, Charlie, for coming. Wes, thank you. I'm sorry we're out of time, but we've just scratched the surface on this subject, so I've got to ask if you guys will come back at another time and finish this up.
Sure, that'd be terrific.
We'll want an updated report. You're watching The Verdict. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
As someone who works in Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry, I know how hard we're working to meet our current energy needs. But there are a few things all of us can do to reduce the amount of energy we use, starting right around the house. A tiny 1/16 inch gap between the door and frame is the same as leaving a window open 3 inches. A little weather stripping can help that. It's amazing how putting a little effort in can keep a lot of energy from getting out. For more energy-saving ideas, visit oerb.com.
This is a message for all you guys out there who aren't afraid of a little hard work. Right now, the oil and gas industry has over 700 job openings right here in Oklahoma. We're talking jobs with salaries from $20,000 to $60,000. Jobs with excellent benefits, flexible schedules, even free training. So check out oilfieldjobsok.com or call 877-655-5677 to find out about great opportunities for hard-working guys like you.
The Cox Channel is still your #1 way to follow the high school tournament.
You're watching the Built for Tough Tournament Show.
The Built for Tough Tournament Connection gives you more scores, more analysis, more insight from coaches.
You're a senior. Are you going to play or not?
Nobody gave us a chance but us.
The Cox Channel is your only source for live local coverage. The Built for Tough Tournament Connection show, combined with our up-to-the-minute ticker and website, is a slam dunk. Tune into the Cox Channel this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights for all your updates.
Just keep it.
Thank you. Dr. Kessler? What's up with the pizzas?
Well, I just got my first satellite bill, and those extra fees were a bit of a shocker. So I had to take a second job.
Hey, this was supposed to be pepperoni, Dillweed.
Hey, it's Dr. Dillweed to you.
Whatever.
Kids. It's cool. I'm a people person.
Don't live in satellite denial. Get all your entertainment without the hidden charges from Cox, your friend in the digital age.
Welcome back. Thanks to Charlie Britton, the headmaster of Casady School, and to the Honorable Wes Lane, our district attorney here in Oklahoma County, for talking to us about a very important and pertinent, timely subject, internet safety for our children. I want to give you a couple of websites. For Wes Lane, it's daweslane.com. For Casady School, if you want to find out more about the iSafe program, it's www.casady.org. And of course, for us here at The Verdict, let us know what you want to see, what you're interested in, and we'll try to accommodate you. Our website is www.theverdict.tv. See you next week.
The preceding program was produced by the Production Services Group at Cox Communications, exclusively for the Cox Channel.